So, here we are in the windowsill again, trying out a new lighting thing. The sun is really beating down on me, and I'm learning a few things about different lighting setups that I knew, but I didn't quite fully understand in the past. And it's super awkward and uncomfortable. And I don't know if I'm gonna love it. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with it, or if I'm just gonna keep bouncing back between the two, or drink it away. Who knows? But this uncomfortable position that I'm in, with the light searing the skin off my back, actually somehow ties in to today's episode. And kind of like with humanity, I want to tie most of this to a video game. Now this one is a little bit more impactful, and the reason being because this may be the final episode of the season. In case it is, I love you. Thank you all for sticking with me as much as you have, and I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed making it. But we'll do our pseudo farewells later. No, this is the story of trust and growth and understanding yourself. This is the story of kind of getting out of comfortable zones and venturing into an unfamiliar one. This is what happens when you can't just, kind of like Superman your way through these points in your life. The main character of the game, his name is Neku, and he's a bit of a recluse. He actually always has headphones on, so he doesn't have to hear the world around him. He's got a bit of a complex when it comes to dealing with people. And for a long time, he just hasn't got him. He never really understood him, and he doesn't really intend to. And I think a lot of us can understand that. There are days that any of us is just a little tired of people, or just don't want to do it today. I mean, normal people stuff. But his spin is a little different. See, in this game, he has actually just died. And he has 7 days to complete a gauntlet of challenges in order to restore his life. And this game is called The World Ends With You. An apt title. And he meets several partners that he has to team up with. He doesn't have a choice. If you don't team up, you are literally incapable of completing any of these challenges. And he has several partners, and he learns a little bit more about them and about himself. And so that's what we're going to do in this uncomfortable position. We do have a choice. I mean, I had a choice that landed me in this position, and I have a choice to get out of it. But if I just walk away from it, I'm not gonna learn new lighting setups. I'm not gonna be able to see exactly what's hitting me wrong. I'm working alone here, so I have to learn and understand and deal with it. And I don't have to stay here if I don't like it. I can go back to the old way. The old way may be better, just objectively better. But I'm not gonna learn that if I just walk away from it and I don't try it. Neku doesn't have the same ability to just walk away instantly. Or he does, but he dies. But he has to learn. He has to adjust. He has to learn how to trust the people he's with. He has to learn how to deal with the new situations he's in. He has to grow up and be better. And that's the fun thing about the relationships that he makes, is that he's not going to be the only one learning something. They're going to learn something as well, whether they want to or not. We have to understand everything about ourselves at some point. And so let's take this time to deep dive and understand what it is that we don't know. What can we learn about the relationships that we forge? Why they don't always have to be romantic in order to be meaningful. And they don't always have to be platonic to show us how to love. Or non-platonic, sorry. And let's see why it's very much the case that the world ends with you. So, show of hands, how many of you are bad at accepting help from others or asking help or anything? And even though there may not be that many people watching, I felt the collective gust from everyone with that one. And you know, sometimes it's hard. There's a bit of a pride element. And I know me personally, as much as I hate the idea of sticking to your pride over just being effective and getting what needs to be done by taking the means necessary, even I'll cling to the pride in which Falstaff of Shakespeare's works so tirelessly refuses to believe in. But you kind of have to. And in the first run of things, our character, Neku, is with a shy girl. And she, super pretty girl. And he doesn't ever try to learn anything about her until like halfway through these trials, where he begins to open up. He's still in the, I got this person's an idiot, they're always like just staring at their phone, forget it. This game functions a very interesting way, where it takes something from you. From Neku, being the protagonist of an anime-inspired property, he lost his memories. Yeah, I know. And his partner, Shiki, she has lost her identity. So in the game, she's actually taken the form of her best friend, who she envied and idolized. And Neku finds this out later on, and he starts to wonder, why would you lose that? But the game takes away what you consider to be the most important thing, in order for you to learn the value of the life you've lost. And by taking away who she was, she begins to understand she didn't need to be someone else. She needed just to love herself more. And throughout these trials, she slowly does begin to learn that. It helps that her partner is someone who's very much thought of himself as better than the people around. So picking up a few cues from his book is helpful in this instance. And the two develop a pretty good bond, and they make their way through the trials, and they fight, and they win. 7 days later, he is claimed. It's time to claim his prize. Get back the things that he considers the most important, and see his new friend. right?
Wrong. Wrong.
Except, just, yeah. Turns out he has to play again because game's not over yet, and she is now the thing that he cares about the most. So she's now his collateral. Isn't that fun? All right. And now he has to team up with probably the sketchiest human being ever, Joshua, who is he's just a delight. And this is probably the piece that stuck with me the most throughout, not just my writing, but just like personally. So there is absolutely no reason for anyone to just look at this guy and say, yeah, I'm going to trust him. Because from the jump, he shows like power that none of the players should have. And he's knowledgeable about things that nobody should know about. And he's just the sketchiest guy ever. Not trusting him, like, he's Neku's partner, so unfortunately he has to trust him. And towards the end, like, he starts to wonder, he's like, why don't you trust me? He's like, if I wanted to hurt you, I could. Like, the power difference between the two is kind of terrifying. But if he wanted to hurt him, he absolutely could. This would not be a fight. So why not try to learn who this man is? Why not? What's the worst that could happen? We know that he can kill you, so killing you is probably not the goal unless he just wants to fuck with you. And most people don't want that, so what do we understand about this character? Nothing. And that's because our main character kind of refused to understand. And he knows that his memories still haven't been fully returned, and it looks like this guy was at the scene of the crime when he died. So lots of reasons not to trust him, but all the more reason to learn about him. And he says something. You don't always have to believe or like the people that you're with, but you do have to trust them. And I understand, at least I believe I understand, what exactly they were aiming for. And it's that sometimes you're going to be stuck in some bad situations. Some situations you don't like or understand around people that you don't want to be around. And you can fight it all you want, but if you're going to be in that situation regardless, you best learn something about it to at least make it a little bit easier on yourself. And he never did that. And then through these 7 days of trials, as he's learning, he's becoming privy of information that absolutely none of these players who experience this death game should have. He could be totally absorbing it and using it to save lives, but he doesn't, because he just doesn't trust this guy. Which again, understandably, he is the shadiest devil you'll ever meet. But you gotta sometimes learn how to put certain things to the side. And this was a good learning point for me, is how much can I say, all right, I understand this, let me put that here for now so I can understand the rest of it. And in the end of these chapters, Joshua, Captain Shady, ends up saving Neku's life.
Morning rays, hairspring queens get on their way to the nest. The West, honest, they once had a dream. Bells of society, shells of the unity, cornets and spinners, the sound flows, follow their home, dragged by the power of the dreams. That power is yet unknown. Morning rays.
But Neku, I thought you couldn't afford to lose. Give up on yourself, and you give up on the world.
They lose the game, but because of the circumstances in which they lost, which they were very much cheated out of a win, he's allowed one more, no matter what, this is the end round. And he realizes that he should have learned to trust while he could. And he ended up losing a very valuable teammate. Maybe not the most worthwhile friend, but a very valuable teammate nonetheless. And someone that he could have picked a lot of his brain for if he had just gotten to know him. Even if you don't like someone, do you not like them for a truly justifiable reason, or do you just not like them? Have you taken the time to understand what it is about them? Or, I mean, the reverse is true. Have you taken the time to understand about them what you do like? Are you, glorifying them like Shiki did with her friend to a point where you're not seeing what you need to see and you're only seeing what you want to see? And this is they're all tied into each other. And before we dig into the next bit, I need to talk about the gameplay. As if an unending Rorschach test of symbolism, The World Ends With You never stops finding ways of tying things back to its themes and narrative, the gameplay included. And while it is probably one of my favorite games just to physically play, gameplay-wise, of all time, it's also one of my favorite because of what it means to the narrative. And I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not reaching right now when I talk about it, but in case I'm not, and this was all intentional, which I believe it was, let's go over it. So, the main gameplay mechanic of The World Ends With You, the original version, not the new one. Sorry, the original one took place on the Nintendo DS. The newer one was on the cell phone, and then the final version appears on the Switch as a port. And if I'm going to recommend you play any of them, it'd be the DS version, as that's the one that I'm the most familiar with. And the gameplay changes drastically between the versions. So in the original version, you play as both Neku and whatever partner you have at the time. As Neku, you use the screen on the bottom of the Nintendo DS, and as the partner, they're on the top screen and you're using the directional inputs. So this makes an absolutely wild gameplay experience because you're always controlling two people. You have to use the myriad of spells and abilities that Neku has. You have to use the very straightforward mechanics that the partner has access to. And they all, even though they're all just directional inputs or button inputs, there's timing and combos that you have to work out in order to make sure they fight, as well as don't get hurt. Because unlike Neku, they cannot move. So while you can dodge for days, they cannot. And because your health bar is very much shared, even if Neku plays an absolutely perfect game, if they get hurt, he takes damage as well. And I think that ties into one of the deeper themes of emotional connections that the game very much tries to illustrate. That being that you have to work with those around you, and I think deeper is what it's trying to say is when somebody around you gets hurt, it can hurt you. And when somebody around you feels great, you feel good. And I like that. I think that's, more than beautiful. I think that's just honest and logical. I don't think it's a 100% emotional response to say that helping other people helps you. I think it's just smart to say, when people feel good and you're the cause of it, then you're going to run into a lot of people who are happy to see you and positive when they're around you. That isn't to say that excess positivity can't bring others into your life that would abuse kindness and positivity, and that excessive negativity can't attract those who would want to help you. But it is worth noting that the better you make someone else feel, the better you can feel. And the worse that you treat someone, or the more that you ignore someone in pain, it can bring you down at some point. And this mechanic is extremely difficult to master. It can be a little easy to learn, but it is very hard to master. And I think what it says is that it's a bit of a process, that you're not just going to immediately figure it out, understand them, and get it. You have to take your time. You have to understand who you're working with, what they can do, and even if you can outperform, or even if you can't quite keep up with them, that it's it's more than that. It's just about communicating. And so you need to understand both sides in order to fully communicate what needs to be said. And even more interestingly about this mechanic is the fact that if you do not play the game for up to 7 days, that Neku gets stronger. So if you walk away and ignore them for a long period of time, you've gotten better. You've gotten stronger. You may have improved. But nothing may have changed with them. And, you know, leaving people alone, you'll start to see such differences between you two that it's going to be hard to kind of understand them again. And then all that time that you spend away from it, you lose the ability that you were refining by spending time with them and working with them and understanding. And I believe that mechanic really touches the heart of like what it takes to build a solid, meaningful relationship. So let's talk about Beat. Spoilers. Beat is your once-time friend, then enemy, now friend again. He's a frenemy, a best frenemy. And you two start off saying, oh wow, remember that time we tried to kill each other? And now if we don't work together, we're both gonna die? Wow.
Look at us. Hey, look at us.
Look at us.
Huh?
Who would have thought?
Not me.
And Beat is kind of upset with himself. He came in with his sister and she's down. And you have lost a friend. So you both are really, really trying to end this game. Because, you know, losing doesn't just mean death for you. It means death for the people that you care about. So you kind of understand that not just the relationship that's most important to you is the one you need to work on. Sometimes you need to deal with past relationships and how they've come to affect you, and how it's not always as simple as it looks, and how sometimes people can make some really troubling decisions when they're worried about someone.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay. My uncle hates me, I know it. He loved me and supported me in every way he could, and I still turned against him. How can I even face him?
Zuko, you're sorry for what you did, right?
More sorry than I've been about anything in my entire life.
Then he'll forgive you. He will.
Uncle. Uncle, I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me. But I want you to know, I am so sorry, Uncle. I am so sorry and ashamed of what I did. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you, but How can you forgive me so easily? I thought you would be furious with me.
I was never angry with you. I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way.
I did lose my way.
But you found it again. And you did it by yourself. And I'm so happy you found your way here.
It wasn't that hard, Uncle. You have a pretty strong scent.
And, you know, sometimes when you set up for a sun-included shot, the sun goes away and the situation changes. And you are with a lighting setup that you don't have any idea of what it looks like anymore, and how what you originally planned and where it is now, well, they're going to change. And just because you planned for something doesn't mean you're ready for it. And if you could plan for something and not be ready for it, you need to understand that other people can plan for something and not be ready for it. And so this story delves into these two finally learning the problems and the choices that the other one has had to make in order to survive all this time. And how neither of them obviously intended to be here in the first place. And they start becoming a little bit more sympathetic, a lot closer and understanding. And I can easily say at this point, the gameplay truly kicks into third gear, with comboing being drastically easier at this point because you understand it. Controlling Neku is a breeze at this point. His partner is, again, not as strong as Joshua was, who was essentially a god compared to everybody, but he's strong enough to make it just all flow so smoothly. And what you're able to access to is the entire world map at this point because it is final round. So there's a lot at your disposal. There's still a bit left to learn, but you're getting it. And I'm not going to spoil a lot of the story points. I really think that if you want to play this game and understand why I would want to talk about this game probably, Jesus Christ, like 10, 15 years later, like, you gotta play it. It's one of those things that you truly have to experience. I don't like spoiling things. I just think that you should enjoy it. You can play it on the Switch. I'm sure it's fine. The story probably didn't change too much, if at all. But if you truly want the same immersive gameplay experience that resonates with the heart of the story, play it on the DS. Or just Wikipedia. It's what everybody does. Whatever they don't feel like doing the work, it's fine. But upon the game's end, everybody, is able to reunite with who they love and all that fun jazz. And you learn about the truth of the game and why people have been placed in a limbo in the first place and why the game was created. And I think the important thing to take away there is that that's not it. It doesn't, though the game ends there, luckily before the age of DLC, so games were allowed to just end, there's still more growing to do. Neku is definitely better as a person. He's more understanding, and he takes the time to learn about the people that he's surrounded by. But, like, he's still pretty young, and so are all his friends. Shiki, Beat, and Joshua, like, they all have a massive amount of growing to do. Maybe not so much Joshua, you'll see why. But Shiki and Beat, like, they need to keep growing and understanding each other. The reason why these characters work so well is that the story that is told around them is one where it's perpetual growth. That all the lessons that he learned with Shiki didn't 100% prepare him for all the lessons that he would learn with Joshua. And all the lessons that he learned with Joshua didn't 100% prepare him for all the lessons that he learned with Beat. And all the lessons that he learned with all three of these partners did not prepare him 100% for the life he will now live without superpowers in a normal world as a normal kid again. He's not done growing. None of them are. And I think the fact that your character can grow immensely into a magnificently better, not just character, but a magnificently better person is what a good story should always do. In the beginning, he was a recluse. He didn't even like listening to other people. But then he wanted to learn more about his friend, and so he could develop a bond. And that bond helped him find, a relationship that he could truly be happy in. when he met Joshua, he was distrustful because the situations that he had landed in were not of his own doing. It wasn't his fault that he was here, but he did his best to get through it so he could help the one person he loved. But that love, that emotion, blinded him from focusing on all the things that he could have used to his advantage, and it almost cost him a friend that was willing to like risk his life for him. And when he met B, he was so ready to go that he almost lost everything he had learned the past couple of weeks out of just anger alone, and all that growth would have meant nothing. So even though he was better at the end of each trial, he still had so much more to learn. And we all do. And that's the thing that I think we should take away from Neku and his journey in Shibuya. And it isn't going to be the cleanest, easiest thing to grow. By nature, it's just, it doesn't make it easy for us, you know? Some of us, yeah, but for many of us, no. And even the ones that you think have got it totally figured out and easy, they may not be quite where you think they are, and if they are, they probably didn't get there overnight. And if they did, they probably had help. And if they had help, didn't have help, well, you should probably ask them, because it's not a problem to ask for help. It's not a problem to find bonds that aren't just beneficial. It's not a problem to seek happiness in those you don't love. It isn't a bad thing to understand those who don't. It is truly worth remembering that as crazy, difficult, weird, and unexpected situations might get, that you may not have done the things that got you there, but you are responsible for yourself while there, and how much it's worth remembering that the world ends with you.
I was just having a debate with a friend of mine, and we got stuck on the difference between fault and responsibility. She kept talking about how something was somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. And I was like, it don't matter whose fault it is that something is broken if it's your responsibility to fix it. For example, it's not somebody's fault if their father was an abusive alcoholic, but it's for damn sure their responsibility to figure out how they're going to deal with those traumas and try to make a life out of it. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together. It sucks, but they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. And we want it to be their responsibility to fix it. But that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone.
So, that is most likely the final episode. I wanted to do a fair amount, but then these things got way longer than I thought they would. And I have scheduled to keep to, and a lot of other projects in the works. So, unfortunately, I cannot at this time do all these episodes. But we will return. There will be more episodes by this time next year, if they haven't already started editing and filming and editing and blah, 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 blah. But thank you all for watching. Truly. It is always fun to just do this. I started this because I wanted to talk about certain like film, game, and properties and subjects and ideas and things like that. Like, because I just love themes and understanding why I'm always asking questions. And I also wanted to like learn a little bit more about cameras and lightings and things like that. So the headaches that these fucking sign
Hit him with a meteor.
things create for me allow me to get a little bit better, and you know, this is fun. I have fun. I like challenging, difficult things that rack my brain and keep me up until 4 in the morning when I work at 6.
I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeps.
Fun. So, with that, I'm gonna take a break. I'm just gonna take a break. Hope you guys enjoy the music at the end. Probably playing right now. If this is on beat, I have no idea what the song's gonna be, but if this is on beat, pretty impressive. As he says, bopping his head to the 4-chord progression. Alright, outro video. I'm sure you're getting ready to line up. Song should be getting ready to end. A2 is right. Never quite realized how beautiful our world is.
Too much pride, but for you I put it aside, 'cause I can't see you with nobody else. It would eat me up alive.